Hello, 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 this is Adolph, and today I'm doing a video for 5 reasons why the Nintendo 64 Mini slash Classic never released. Probably. I'm not an expert, I don't work for Nintendo, I don't have an uncle that works for Nintendo. So this video is trying to explain where is it? Why didn't it come out? I have some theories, I have some ideas. Hopefully you'll be entertained and you'll agree with me at the end of this video. Number 5, the controller. Nintendo 64 controller was awesome and horrible at the same time. Here it is in all of its glory. The three-prong system had a lot of jokes. Oh, you need 3 hands to play. Ha 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 ha. Seriously though, it was awesome because the control stick absolutely revolutionized games. I think there was some control sticks before the 64, but this was standard. This was the standard controller, and it was awesome. It worked, and there's a lot of cool buttons and features to it. Obviously, the 64 controller, how much would this thing cost? I don't know. Would it include rumble support? Because I would love some rumble support for Star Fox and other games that had it. Would the controller look like this with the rumble pack? What about the memory pack? Would that be part of the controller feature when you buy it from the store? I don't know. Maybe, hopefully. Now, do you really trust Nintendo with the Joy-Con drift issue? With making another control stick, because Nintendo has really dropped the ball with Joy-Con drift on the Nintendo Switch. So this would be an issue. Now, do you remake the controller to make it fit more modern kind of hands? Because, it was clunky, a weird thing to hold. You have these different kinds of examples here, and I don't know if any of those really are better. Collectors are going to get pissed. They don't want another version. They want the original. So if you give them the original, it's going to have problems. The control stick hurt because the little rings in the middle. It got dusty. It's hard to make that again. So imagine that's a problem. What's the next problem? The game library. Don't get me wrong. I love the games in 64. Here is the probable game lineup. This is what I think is likely. Mario Kart 64, Paper Mario 64, Zelda, Majora's Mask, Harvest Moon 64, Yoshi's Story, Zelda Ocarina of Time, Kirby 64, Mario Tennis, Pokemon Snap, Star Fox 64, Excitebike 64, Wave Race 64, 1080 Snowboarding, Mario 64, Bomberman 64, Mario Party 2, Ogre Battle 64, and Donkey Kong 64. Here's the list again. 21 games here. I think that's a pretty good lineup. About the same as SNES and Classic. Maybe a little bit less. But why do I think this? Well, this is what's on the Wii U Virtual Console. So Nintendo has a habit of recycling. And these emulators, these ROMs are ready to go. They're already on their system right now. They have deals with the different publishers to release them. So I think those deals would work for this. So what are some maybe games? Here are some maybe games. Doom, Turok, Pilot Wings, Cruisin', Pokemon Puzzle League, Smash Brothers, Power Man Hero, and Rayman 2. Now, these games were mostly on the Wii Virtual Console. Rayman 2 has released in everything, so why wouldn't it release here? I don't know. Maybe games again. Look, Doom and Turok, I think are things that they're making new versions of that. So yeah, Pilot Wings, Nintendo owns. Puzzle League, Nintendo owns. Smash Brothers too. Now here's a list of noteworthy games that are extremely unlikely to be included on this console. All the Rare games, because Microsoft now owns them. A bunch of sports and licensed games, and so much more, because a lot of games lost their ownership because the companies that made them no longer in business. So there's a big lineup of games that I would be very sad not to have. I would love to have Smash Brothers on this. I think very much likely it would. But there's a lot of games that would be weird not to have on the system. I love the 64, and I think there's definitely some issues with gameplay. Donkey Kong 64 being a big issue. DK64 is a collectathon that is clunky, and I imagine some of these games don't hold up gameplay-wise over the years. The quality games, hold up, but it's a little bit harder to play some of these games in the current time. And I think Donkey Kong 64 is definitely one of those games. Obviously, I think Pokemon Snap. I worry that Nintendo might be a little bit weird with Pokemon and the franchise, and do they want to have this out when the new Pokemon Snap is out? I don't know. I assume they wouldn't care. I mean, money's money, but it's just a little bit hard to have both versions out at the same time. And you have all these other games that I think would be very cool to play again. I heard a lot of people hate Yoshi's Story. I never played it. I'm not a big fan of Yoshi games in general. I mean, Yoshi's Island is awesome, but not what I was wanting. So I imagine there'd be just some difficulty replaying some of these games with modern issues where it's hard to go back. Now, in Rumble support, I mentioned this in the controller part. I would be very sad not to play Star Fox 64 with Rumble again. So, is that part of the code that you could put in there to include Rumble support? Because that would be something that would be nice to have. Now, obviously, you're still going to have these corded like the other controllers. I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things where I want these games, and there's a lot of these games that are classics, but also weird to play now. And publishing rights, are these companies still around? Who owns these things? Obviously, the sports games. Major League Baseball is going to want their cut, so it's just easier not to even bother. And some of these companies just don't exist anymore. I love Top Gear Rally. It's one of my favorite racers. I don't know why. It just resonates. The soccer games, the football games, these kind of games, you'd think, okay, that's not too hard to emulate, but some of these might be hard to emulate. That's why they haven't made them. And not having the rare games is a huge, huge loss. And it's just so many great rare games that are just not going to be here, and it's sad. I never played Bass Corps. I always wanted to. Cruisin'. I think Cruisin' has a weird chance because they recently have a new Cruisin' game out, but I don't know if the rights to the original is there. But it did come on the Wii, so maybe it's not that hard. There some issues with the emulation on the Mario Kart 64 and the Wii. Did they patch that? I think so. Some of these games might have emulation problems. If they haven't already released, that might be an issue where the emulator that works on some of these games may not work on all of the games. So some of the, and some of it should work. It should be all fine, but there might be some bugs that make it hard. And the manufacture hardware that plays all these games would be a little bit weird because, it would cost more to have this instead of because you use the same technology from the Super Nintendo and SNES or the NES and Super NES classics. I think that hardware is powerful enough to have 64, but I'm not 100% sure. So you have to make new things. Some of these games never got that much of a US release. I would love to have, Sin and Punishment was a lot of fun. So, yeah, I would imagine some of these games have some issues with gameplay, and it's just not working as well as it should be, and it's hard to go back to. Now, Mario 64 and Wave Race 64 had Rumble versions in Japan. I would love to have those versions. What about the Japanese versions versus the American versions? See, there's a lot of problems here, a lot of questions. Now, HDTV is another factor to think about when it comes to these games. I'm sorry, but it looks like crap, these games. The graphics, they have various resolutions and various frame rates. And it's not going to look that great playing these in a modern TV. And, especially if you have a 4K or 8K. Look, this is a rough estimate where the 64 would be. It would be worse than DVD quality, and it's all over the place. How it looks and how it plays on the screen, it's going to be really hard to justify buying it. I imagine a lot of people may be like, oh yeah, I forgot the 64 played this badly, because there's a lot of bad frame rates. They're like games are like 10, 15 frames per second, and it's rough. And different resolutions. How do you get all these resolutions to work on a modern TV and not look terrible? I mean, I'm sorry, Paperboy 64 looks like garbage. It looked like garbage back then. It looks even worse now. Body Harvest. It's a cool game. I like the game, but it does not hold up. It's blurry. The textures are bad. It's going to be hard to play these games on a modern TV. Be like, oh my god, my eyes, they blur. They're just so ugly, and it's just the frame rate's just kind of choppy, and it's just not nice to play these games on a modern TV. So Nintendo did release the Super Mario 3D All Stars, and when they released them, they did have some changes. The 64 is a little bit more blurry. They did have 720p instead of the 240p, whatever the Mario 64 originally came out in. And you can tell a difference, but it's a little bit slight. Are they going to do this to all the games? I don't think so. What's the next feature? Next issue. The remake factor. Nintendo has, and other different third-party companies have remade these games. Many of the games on 64. So would it be just more cost-effective to release these? Mario 64 DS, Ocarina of Time 3D, and Zelda Majora's Mask 3D, and finally Star Fox 3D. Are those versions going to be included on this? I don't think so, but it would be cool to have. They released on the Switch Turok and Doom and so many more other ones. So there obviously is money remaking these games to the modern times and just making them all together a brand new game. So it might just be easier and more cost effective to release these packages than an entire little console, or just to make them all together brand new, maybe more cost effective. And honestly, it's just not that profitable enough. I think the NES and SNES classics sold really well. Everyone that wanted them bought one, I think, and there's probably people that didn't get it. So NES was $59.99, great price. The Super Nintendo was $79.99. Now, if you keep going up in price, does that mean this is going to be $100? $99.99. Now, $100 is a little bit different ball game here. Can Nintendo actually manufacture this and make a profit off of $100 and sell it? That's starting to get into that range where it's like, ooh, $100 is a little bit more, and the economy being weird because of COVID, and obviously that's before that. But I think also the chip shortage, is it really worth it? Can you make money off of this? You might need some work, behind the scenes to make the money to, you might have to do some things in emulation to make it work better. Is it worth it? Is $100 too much? Is it really profitable at that point? Is it really worth all the effort to have these made? I don't know. But that's it basically for me. 5 reasons why the 64 Mini Classic never released, probably. What do you think? Do you think my theories, my ideas are way off base, or do you think I have some merit? Please comment below. That's going to be it for me. Bye.
Thank you to my patrons. Please comment, like, and subscribe to this channel, and use the notification bell. Thank you. Bye.
Hey, aren't you the one?